Today we are doing a podcast with the group team, which is Brian Northup, Kayla Northup, and Colby McPike for ComPro. And as I was discussing earlier, kind of the goal of today is to just kind of talk through the stories related to who you help and from a customer service perspective. I've known you guys very well, and I know for a lot of the public, it's sometimes very abstract for them to understand what does it look like when you're working with an insurance agent. You know, many people perceive it's just about getting the quote, but for you guys, it's imperative and it's so important that because of the importance and the role this plays in health benefits and employer retention, that the dynamic of that interaction and ongoing engagement, advocacy, questions answered, that's a huge thing. And for the audience, you know, ComPro, connecting the dots, ridiculous responsiveness. So that aspect to your business model is a big deal. So that's kind of what we'll be talking about today. I'm going to start with each of you just in a generic sense of just from your perspective. I use the word secret sauce. You've heard me ask that before. You guys have answered it, but just for the sake of today, if one of you want to just quickly start, what would you say if you were describing ComPro to somebody you don't know? Again, like I said, if it's another business owner where you're doing kind of your explanation of why work with ComPro, let's just have each of you take a turn and just tell me in your own words, what is it that makes you guys unique?
I think one of the big things that separates us is just our focus on health insurance, just really dialing down our focus to be laser focused on employee benefits and helping those clients get like the best customer service. So we're not dabbling in a bunch of different areas. We really, understand health insurance. We understand the fully insured side of it. We understand the level funded. We know all the ancillary products in and out, and we can really help just dial in and navigate those waters. I'd say, the benefit of ComPro, another benefit is we just really strive to have ridiculous responsiveness. So what that means to us is we're trying to get clients called back within a couple of hours. The goal overall, I think, is to get back to people within 24 hours, but really we're striving every day to get back within a couple hours to our clients.
On top of that, I would add that we understand what it is to be a small business and the challenges that small businesses face. So they are on top of trying to run their business, manage benefits, and they may not be an expert in benefit administration. And so we're happy to help and step in and guide them through that process, teach them about it so that they feel comfortable and empowered, explaining the benefits to their employees and staying up to date with the compliance.
I would agree with that. Say main focus is that small group, and our point that we're also a small employer. So we know a lot of those struggles that companies go through, and a lot of those companies don't have the HR department. So we're to help with those employee benefits and help with a lack of HR department that is usually in those small businesses. And just the fact that we are also half family, half non-family, we do understand family businesses as well and the struggles that they go through, so we can relate to those companies as well.
So Kayla, you've got some examples of some people you've worked with. So I would say maybe touch on, and I'll kind of let you decide and I can help you expand on it, but kind of talk through, you've got some different examples of some clients that you've worked with. So talk to me a little bit about the relationship you've had with you guys, or you've had with them, perhaps how long you've worked with them, and just kind of what's the dynamic in the working relationship.
Sure. So we have a client who we worked with for many years. And actually then that business ended up getting bought out. And so our relationship ended because they moved to their new owner's health insurance plan. But the benefits administrator, the HR director, moved to a different company. And she actually brought us in to that new company because she saw the value that we brought in not just providing them with insurance options, which is, I would say, the basis of what an insurance agent does, but there's so much more to that in treating people, the term that she frequently uses, like family, treating people like family and making sure that they are well represented, that her employees are taken well care of, and that she can trust that we will do right by them. So that's been a really fun client to work with, just because it's fun to work with those people that you know and trust so well.
In what industry is that particular client in?
They are in the medical field.
Okay, perfect. So let's go through just a few more. Give me kind of, again, maybe talk about the industry they're in and just kind of describe, again, whether it's, like I said, the duration of working with them and kind of the dynamic of how you're helping them out.
Sure. We have another client who is quite small, actually, and they're in the agricultural field. And they had a claim issue. And so one of the daughters of the owner, seems like it always happens with the owner or the owner's wife or kids or something. But the daughter, actually, she was a young adult and still in her parents' plan. And she had done the homework to make sure that the health plan would cover her prescription. She had a high dollar prescription. She knew that she had to have it due to a medical condition that she had. And she had done the homework and documented her homework, confirmed that this prescription would be covered by United Healthcare. And when she went to fill it, she was expecting a $125 copay. The cost that she was charged was $1,500. And so obviously that causes some bells to go off. And because she had kept good notes, we were able to, I don't want to say fight, but we were able to work with the insurance company to make sure that they held their word, because when she was on the phone with them, they had told her that it would be covered at a $125 copay. But it wasn't disclosed that this additional fee would be tacked on because she was using a name brand medication. And so it took several weeks, and a few weeks, I should say. And it took really taking it up the ladder and being quite persistent and being quite loud about it. But that's my job. It's to advocate for my clients and make sure that the insurance company is doing what they're supposed to do and what they have communicated that they would do to this client. And so in the end, we were able to get her medication approved for a $125 copay. And I just felt super great about that, because it's a life-saving medication for her. And it's very important for people's, $1,500 is a big deal every month.
Excellent. And again, I can speak to ourselves. I know you guys help us out, and we're obviously a very small group. And the impact of having group has been transformative. We came from the marketplace, which in many cases is a good idea, but we ran into that being in a ratio where it didn't make a lot of sense. So I can speak to the fact that being a small group for us has been both from just my wife and I, and then, like I said, the benefits that we provide, because we're able to do both vision and dental in addition to health. And I even noticed this year that even some of my prescription coverage has improved, which I can't say I necessarily anticipated that, but one of my drugs that tend to be really expensive that you need a coupon with, I didn't need it this year. So
awesome.
Go team. And that's usually like a $200 drug. So I know
Nice.
that doesn't always work for everybody, but I can just say for us, helping us navigate that has been unbelievably helpful, on top of the fact that it has definitely contributed to our ability to compete and provide competitive benefits, even though we're a small business.
Yeah, thank you. I think that kind of leads me to another client that I was thinking of. They are small business. They have about 10 employees, and they're in the medical field, and they're actually one of the industries that was forced to close their doors for a few weeks due to COVID. And so this business, like you guys, they really place a high value on taking good care of their employees, and they wanted to make sure that their employees could maintain their enrollment on the health plan, but they weren't working. So they had to figure out how to put together furloughs and unemployment benefits and PPP loans and maintaining benefits. And so, we were all doing that with many of our clients, but it was a really important time to stay on top of the latest news, latest laws that were coming down, and really help them walk through that path and take care of their employees.
Excellent. Any other ones just in different size or different industries that you want to share, or is that kind of a good?
I think that's a pretty good breadth that covers clients from 3 employees to 67. We do work a lot with the medical field, but we also work in a lot of different industries as well. So both working closely with the businesses and individual employees. That's what I love to do. I love to help people navigate the world of health insurance.
And you kind of answered that, but I just wanted to ask that succinctly. What would you say is the most enjoyable part of serving these different industries and different sizes?
The most satisfying thing is making the world of health insurance understandable to people. And even if they don't get to the point of understanding it, they're able to make it work for them. And so when they have a problem that they can't solve on their own, and I can use my knowledge, my connections to solve that problem for them, that's the most gratifying thing to me.
All right, excellent. So Colby, your turn. So I know you kind of focus on some different industries as you kind of your niche. Mm-hmm. So kind of talk about a couple examples you've had and just sort of that dynamic of maybe how you've developed that niche focus, and then kind of your kind of angle or approach that's obviously the ComPro way, but it's kind of tailored to the Colby brand per se.
Yeah, so I've been focusing on the agriculture, the blue collar, construction areas, and just knowing what those employees are looking for benefits, knowing how to structure those, maybe adding some voluntary benefits to strengthen those benefits. That's been my focus, is that blue collar area. I also do have some engineering groups, some groups in various other areas. But yeah, the primary focus has been that agriculture, the blue collar.
So let's talk about a couple of examples. Talk to me about how you guys got engaged, and maybe size, and just kind of what's consistent with both of the ones that you kind of work with, and maybe where are some differences or nuances in how you interact with them.
Yeah, so one example, an engineering group that I've been working with for a couple of years, actually met them through family friends, and that's how a lot of my business began, was parents of my friends that own companies, and various other connections that we've had playing sports with several people. You end up meeting a lot of people through college as well. So a lot of those connections, strengthening and just earning their trust, and that I'll be able to take care of them. And really just keeping a broad focus on not just one certain industry, being able to help everyone, but also specialize in knowing what types of benefits the blue collars are really working for here in Lincoln, Nebraska specifically, and Nebraska all across the state, just understanding the help that they need.
Excellent. Anything else you want to add to that in terms of the examples you've kind of worked with? And I know you mentioned one that you kind of got into some kind of significant health concerns and just navigating some of those waters. Yeah.
So this is a company that they're in the engineering field, and they have employees all across the United States, mainly in Nebraska, Colorado, but then a few other areas as well. And one of the employees had the most unfortunate case happen, where they came down with cancer, having some issues, going into the doctor, got to see a specialist doctor, rather aggressive form. And so had to go in to get some tests done, get some MRIs, and really just did not need to worry about insurance at that point, just really needed to focus on their own health. And unfortunately, some claims came back that were not covered. Had a couple of procedures that he was seeing bills for upwards of $4,000 a piece. He was getting bills for about $8,000. His max out of pocket was $4,000, so he was hoping that would be cut off. And so with my contacts, with a few representatives, I was able to figure out what was going on, why the claims were not being processed correctly, not being approved, and help work with the provider, the actual doctor provider on that claims, and then going back and forth with the insurance company to figure out what ends they weren't meeting, and then giving that back to the provider so they could create a official appeal to go through. It did take a couple of appeals process. They really have to prove some things, and my job is to find out what's going on and pass that in between the companies, kind of being the middleman, so that they get the correct information across, and then let them do the appeals process. And we were able to, on our side, get the insurance company to put a focus on that appeal so that we know it would get approved. And I really didn't want that employee to have to be worried about his bills when he's dealing with an aggressive form of cancer. That's the last thing that we ever want someone to be focusing on.
So, given those things, I mean, again, I know, how long have you been at ComPro now working?
Yeah, so that's a mixed answer. Full-time focusing on employee benefits, I've been there 3 years. I've been around insurance itself and ComPro for about 20 years at the family dinner table. But other than that, been focused in this role for about 3 years.
So again, as I asked Kayla, for you, again, I like I said, you guys all bring sort of different things to the table within the similar construct of the ComPro way. For you, what is one of the favorite parts or more fulfilling parts? Because let's be honest, I mean, I get that working and advocating on a client's behalf in a situation, I mean, that's a lot of work, and that's a lot of red tape and a lot of nuance, and it's kind of a grind. What do you enjoy the most about your role?
I would say when working with employees, and they come up with a claims issue, come up with an issue that they're having, that they are feeling that they're going to have to handle themselves, and they've been able to redirect them and say, no, hey, this is my job. This is where I come in. I can take care of it from here. And just hearing the pain or everything that they thought they would have to take care of come off of their shoulders and be put onto ours. And then we handle it from there. And then at the end, seeing the satisfaction of we found an answer. We were able to use our contacts and get this pushed through, and not having to make that employee deal with themselves. They're a lot more. I feel that they're a lot more grateful when they have an issue, and then they can basically be taken out of the process altogether and let us handle it from there.
All right. So, Northup, again, interested in your kind of take now. We've got the trifecta of the three of you. I know obviously Megan and Wells involved, but from your standpoint, what's been kind of your focus and your approach in working with your clients, and then we'll kind of get into the nuance of each individual you've worked with.
Yeah, a big part of our, proven process is, after we connect and discover those things, we really want to solve and advocate. So we've had to come up with some creative solutions over the last couple years. And one of those creative solutions we've been looking at finding for a lot of clients is what's really working well is moving our clients to level funded. Now, that is a scary transition for some of our clients. And so for some of our clients, especially the smaller ones that really are a little bit unfamiliar with what exactly that is, with going down the road of medical applications and going down and looking at a whole bunch of different things, we really spent a lot of time, or I spent a lot of time walking them through the process, letting them know how level funded works, how the premiums are going to be the same every month, and just kind of how that process plays out with claims getting paid, and then how there's a possibility of getting a refund if the group runs well. So, like I said, there's just a lot of nervousness when we're moving groups from that fully insured space where they kind of felt like they were being taken care of, and moving over to the level funded. So on the level funded, they're still getting that same level of care. They're still getting the same level of doctors. Their employees really don't see any difference. And so it's just helping basically comfort the clients and make sure that they are, you're assuring them that they're making a good decision for themselves and for their employees, and that in the end, it's all going to turn out. And so far, I mean, level funded has been an amazing product for us. So many clients are getting refunds. So many clients are seeing smaller renewals. And so it's been just a great experience.
So just for those, and I know we've talked about this some, but briefly touch on what level funded is for those that are not as familiar with that. And then is there a specific size of company that's a good fit for or not?
Yeah, so level funded is a subset of a self-funded option. So in a self-funded option, your premium is broken into 3 different pieces. Your premium dollars are going into like an administration fee, and that might be a third of it. A third of that might be going into a claims fund, and that is what is actually paying the claims, and that's the portion that could be refunded to you if you have a positive claims fund after the run-out period. So after the 12 months are exhausted, there's usually a period of time where they're still paying claims after the 12 months. And so after that run-out period, there's that opportunity to get a refund. And then the last part of that thing that makes the whole thing work really smooth is the reinsurance. And so if a group does run into a situation where they were completely healthy and out of the blue, someone has a $100,000, $200,000 claim, it doesn't just kind of topple the whole ship. It gives them that ability. They're still paying the same level monthly premium. At the end of the year, if they spent $200,000 more than they had in the claims fund, they still can walk away free and clear, and possibly look at going back to a fully insured plan if that's what needs to happen.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about, again, some of maybe the industries you've worked with, and again, some of the case studies and the types of clients you've helped with during this time.
Yeah, so I got a pretty wide breadth of clients that we work with. We've got clients that are very large in size, and they've got over 100 employees in the manufacturing area. And then we've got clients that are all the way down to, that 4 or 5 employees, and they're working in a diverse spaces, from construction to doctor's offices, dentists, dental offices. We've just got a really broad range of people I help. I really like diving in with all of them and kind of meeting them where they're at with their knowledge on insurance. And so for the ones that want to talk a little bit more in depth, we can go that route. And with the ones that are just really wanting, they're like this, hey, Brian, we need a good option for our employees, and we're looking to you to give us guidance, and help us just get the right plan for our employees. And I love doing that too. So
have you noticed a trend, in the last 5 years or so? Have you seen a increase in just small to medium-sized businesses providing health insurance needs, or what has been maybe some misconceptions and or just the trends that you've noticed as you guys have been helping more and more businesses?
Yeah, a lot of employers really do want to provide those employee benefits. They really want to do everything they can to retain their employees and keep their employees from looking elsewhere. A lot of times just simplifying that process, employees don't want to get too overly involved in figuring out the health insurance, figuring out the vision, the dental, short-term disability. They just kind of want to go to work, get their job done, and then know that the employer's got their best interest at heart. And so I think the employers that are stepping up and offering those employee benefits are really seeing a lot better retention, and that's kind of a huge game changer, and that's what's helping them separate themselves from the pack.
One other question I have, and I might also have maybe Kayla chime in on this, is, again, I realize when you have, I know one in particular, we have a shared client where they have an HR manager. We have others where you're just dealing with myself, with you're dealing with owners. First and foremost, is there a difference in how you work with, say, an owner versus like an HR manager? So maybe, or is it just the same? Is there any sort of nuance or difference in the approach from that perspective?
For me, whether they're an HR person or they're an owner, it just kind of depends. Some of them really want to be more hands-on, and some of them want to be hands-off. I've got groups that, whether it's the HR or the owner, they've just got a higher level of wanting to be involved, and so they want to do the enrollments, the terminations, and all that stuff. And it's when they're doing the enrollments and terminations, sometimes they run into an oops. They accidentally keyed something not quite right. They terminated a benefit that shouldn't have been terminated. And then they contact me, I jump in there, and we kind of take care of it, and we get it straightened out and fixed. And so it's everything. It's you have to get that side of the spectrum, and then there's other employers that are just like, whether it's HR or the owner, they're just like, Brian, we really want you to take care of this start to finish. I'm going to send you the applications, you enroll, you terminate, and you keep the record keeping, and we're happy and glad to do that as well.
I know one question. Go ahead, Kayla.
No, actually, I was just going to entirely agree with Brian. It's very client based as far as how we dictate our communication and our involvement with each group.
So, and I don't care who chimes in, I know you've dealt a little bit with the PPP. So obviously, as it relates to COVID, we're now, I know myself, went through a second round of funding. So maybe talk to me a little bit about the role you've played in assisting with COVID. Again, for, the layman person, again, I don't pretend to be an expert, but there's a certain ratio of employee-related expenses that will help you qualify for the reimbursement and the forgiveness of the loan/grant you receive. One of those expenses that can be part of that ratio is health insurance. So maybe talk to me kind of how you've helped, or what role do you play in helping the business navigate that part from the making sure the insurance is factored in?
Sure. To start, I don't want to be confused as an attorney or any of that. So, we always give our clients that piece of advice, that I'll certainly be happy to advise you on the insurance side, but consult with all of those other professionals as well. But we help them because they do have to provide documentation to support their PPP loan and how they have used those funds. They have to figure out how to keep employees enrolled on the plan, even if they're furloughed right now. And so each company I found has had really different circumstances. Some have had to close. Some had to furlough employees for a few months. Some have had no business impact. And so, it's very much an individualized approach. But there's a lot of bill reading and a lot of research, because it's important to me that I just not read it, but that I really understand what the program says so that I can fully explain it to my clients. And so I try to educate myself first so that I can be the best resource possible.
Anything else, guys, again, from the standpoint of painting the picture? We've covered a lot of things, but is there anything else you guys would like to add to this that we've maybe not already covered?
Another tidbit that I guess could throw in here, one little thing that we also try to help our clients with as much as possible, just getting them the right information is, a lot of employers have moved to the level funded plans. And so there's a lot more new compliance things they've got to worry about. One of those big compliance issues is, and there's just a lot of confusion with it, is the 1095 reporting. So there's a lot that goes into that. And so, we are just there to back up our employers, and we're, helping fill those forms out. We don't fill them out for them. It's just a sounding board to help make sure they're on the right track and getting the right things done. So we're kind of there to help with that little bit of compliance piece too when it comes to that. If we don't have the answers, we don't ever pretend to know. We will track them down and help the client get the answers they're looking for.
So let's do the final thing, call to action. Colby, how can clients get in touch with you guys in the different engagement methods?
Yes, so you can call us at 402-488-5100. You can email me, Kayla, and Brian. My email is colbymcpike@ComPro.ins. And everybody else, for whatever reason, I'm the only weird email. Everybody else is first letter of their first name, then last name. So Kayla is K Northup, Brian is B Northup at ComProINS.com. You can also find our website at www.comproins.com.
And I know one thing I was going to recommend to the listeners is each of you have your own individual page that provides a lot of this information. So there will be copies of this podcast, not only in its comprehensive state, but as well as your little sections that you talk about. So again, I encourage the listeners to, as they're trying to get to know and know who they might be working with, to make sure they check out the About Us section of the website. Thanks everybody for participating. Have a great day.